The council chamber floated in the void between stars, a massive ring of metal and light where the galaxy's powers gathered to decide the fate of worlds. Today, they had come to discuss Earth. Mirai stood at the center of the circular room, surrounded by aliens of every shape and size. Some had scales, others had fur, and a few were just clouds of gas held together by force fields. They all looked at her with the same expression, pity mixed with impatience. "Honored members," Mirai said, her voice steady despite the weight pressing on her chest. "Earth requests aid. We need food supplies, medical equipment, and terraform technology. Our sun's radiation has poisoned our surface. 200 million humans live underground now, but our systems are failing." A creature that looked like a walking tree spoke first. Its voice sounded like wind through leaves. "Earth has been dying for 50 years. How much longer must we support a dead branch?" "We are not dead," Mirai said firmly. "We survive, we adapt. We only need time." An insectoid being clicked its mandibles. This was Counselor Vex, representing the Halon Empire. "Time? You had time? Your species wasted it on wars and pollution. Now you want us to pay for your mistakes?" Mirai felt her hands curl into fists. She forced them open. "We are asking for basic humanitarian support. The same support this council has given to 12 other species in crisis." "Those species had value," Vex said coldly. "They had resources, technology, or strategic importance. Earth has nothing but hungry mouths and a dying star." The other council members shifted in their seats. No one spoke in Earth's defense. Mirai had known this would happen, but hoping and knowing were different things. "Then we are done here," Mirai said quietly. "Earth will remember this day." "Earth will be gone in a decade," Vex replied. "Memory requires existence." Far from the council chamber, beyond the trade routes and security patrols, Captain Day-Wan stood on the bridge of the Teguk. The ship was old, built before the solar catastrophe when humanity still reached for the stars with hope instead of desperation. Now it was one of only 3 deep space vessels Earth could still operate. "Captain, sensors picking up multiple contacts ahead," said Hyun from the communications station. "They're in our asteroid belt." Day-Wan leaned forward in his chair. The asteroid belt belonged to Earth. It had been marked as protected territory for decades. "Identify them." "Working on it," Hyun said, fingers dancing across holographic displays. "Got it. 3 cargo haulers, Halon registry. They're mining our asteroids." The bridge fell silent. Everyone knew what this meant. The galaxy had already decided Earth was finished. They were picking at the corpse before it was even cold. "Battle stations," Day-Wan said calmly. "Helm intercept course. Communications, open a channel." The Teguk moved through space like a predator, old but still dangerous. When they came within range, Day-Wan could see the Halon ships clearly. They were huge compared to his vessel, designed to strip asteroids down to nothing and carry away the valuable metals. "Channel open," Captain Hyun reported. "Halon vessels. This is Captain Day-Wan of the Earthship Teguk. You are illegally mining in protected territory. Cease operations immediately and withdraw." The response came quickly, filled with clicking laughter. "Earthship, you have no authority here. Earth is a dying world. These resources are wasted on you. Return to your grave and let the living work." Day-Wan felt something cold settle in his stomach. Not fear, not anger. Something else, decision. "Weapons, target their mining equipment," he ordered. "Fire." The Teguk's railguns spoke and magnetic accelerators threw metal slugs at impossible speeds. The shots were precise, destroying mining drones and excavation arms, but not the ships themselves. "Not yet. Earthship, you dare attack us?" The Halon captain sounded shocked. "We will report this to the council." "Report whatever you want," Day-Wan replied. "But leave our territory now, or the next shots go through your hulls." There was a long pause. Then the Halon ships began moving away, their holds full of stolen metals. Day-Wan watched them go and knew this was only the beginning. If the Halons were here, others would come too. The galaxy was already dividing up Earth's territory like inheritance from a dying relative. "Captain," Hyun said carefully, "the council won't like this." "The council already made their decision," Day-Wan said. "They just haven't announced it yet." Deep beneath Earth's poisoned surface, in a laboratory carved from bedrock and shielded by meters of lead and concrete, Dr. Hana stared at equations that had consumed 3 years of her life. Around her, holographic displays showed complex mathematical models that would make most scientists weep with frustration. She was so close. She could feel it. Traditional faster-than-light travel used massive amounts of energy to punch holes through space-time. It worked, But it was slow, inefficient, and required engines the size of buildings. Humanity's old FTL ships had been massive, slow things that took weeks to cross distances other species covered in days. But Hana had found something different. Something in the human brain that other species didn't have. A quantum field effect in human neural tissue that could interact with space-time on microscopic levels. Alone, one brain did nothing. But connect thousands of human minds in a quantum network, and you could bend space itself. It was dangerous. The test subjects often had seizures, memory loss, or worse. But it worked. In simulations, it worked beautifully. Dr. Hana, a voice called from the laboratory entrance. She turned to see Admiral Sung-ho walking toward her, his military uniform crisp despite the underground humidity. "Tell me you have good news." "I have theoretical good news," Hana said, gesturing to her displays. "The neural field FTL system works in simulation. We could build ships that travel 10 times faster than anything the galaxy has seen." "But?" Sung-ho asked, knowing there was always a but. "But it requires human operators in constant neural connection. The strain is enormous, and we need thousands of people connected to power just one ship." Sung-ho studied the equations he couldn't understand. How many people on Earth could safely connect? Maybe 50,000, but we'd be risking their minds, Admiral. Every time they power a ship, they could have permanent brain damage. And if we don't build these ships, if we stay hidden underground while the galaxy picks us apart? Hana had no answer for that. Sung-ho's communication device chirped. He listened for a moment, his face hardening. Ambassador Mirai's shuttle just entered Earth orbit. The Council has made their decision. They both knew what that meant. Earth had been hoping for help, for time, for a chance. Now those hopes were ashes. "How long until we can build a prototype?" Sung-ho asked. 6 months. Maybe less if we skip safety protocols. "Skip them," Sung-ho said. "We're out of time for safety." On the bridge of the Taeguk, still drifting near the asteroid belt, Daewon received the same message. Mirai's shuttle was coming home and the news would be bad. "He could feel it in his bones, Captain," Hyun said suddenly. "I'm picking up a broadcast. It's the Galactic Council. They're making an announcement." "Put it through." The voice that filled the bridge was Vex's clicking, hateful tone. "By unanimous decision, the Galactic Council declares Earth a lost world. Human territorial claims are void. Human representation on the Council is suspended. Former Earth territories are open for legal claim and resource extraction. This decision is final." Daewon listened to his species being erased from galactic law. Around him, his crew sat in stunned silence. "They didn't even wait for Mirai to get home," Hyun whispered. Daewon stood from his chair. His crew looked at him, waiting for orders, waiting for hope, waiting for anything. "Set course for Earth," he said quietly, and sent a message to Admiral Sung-ho. "Tell him it's time. Whatever he's been planning, whatever Hana's been building, we need it now. The galaxy has made its choice." "What choice is that, Captain?" Hyun asked. Daewon looked at the stars, at the galaxy that had decided humanity should fade quietly into darkness. "They've chosen to forget that humans don't go quietly," he said. "Send the message. Tell them we're done asking for help. From now on, we take what we need." 6 months had changed everything beneath Earth's surface. The underground cities that once held only homes and farms now thundered with the sound of war production. Factories worked day and night, fed by power from geothermal plants and staffed by people who had volunteered for something impossible. Jinwoo stood in the neural sync chamber, surrounded by scientists and doctors who looked at him like he was already dead. Maybe he was. The test had not gone well for the others. "Are you certain about this?" Dr. Hana asked for the 10th time. She stood beside a machine that looked like a metal coffin with too many wires. "We've lost 3 volunteers to brain hemorrhages. 2 more have permanent neural damage. We don't know if this is even survivable long-term." "How long is long-term?" Jinwoo asked. He was 24, a pilot who had flown atmospheric fighters in the underground cities. He was good. He was fast, and he was arrogant enough to think he could survive what others couldn't. "We don't know," Hana admitted. "Maybe years, maybe days." "Then we'd better make those days count," Jinwoo said, climbing into the neural sync pod. The machine was called the Guishan, the Ghost. It wasn't just a fighter ship. It was something new, something that would make the galaxy remember humanity existed. But it needed a pilot whose mind could merge with it completely. "Beginning sync sequence," one of the technicians announced. Jinwoo felt the needles slide into the ports at the base of his skull. The pain was immediate and white-hot, but he'd been warned. Then came the sensation of expanding, of becoming more than just flesh and bone. He could feel the Guishan around him, not as a machine but as an extension of his body. He could sense every system, every weapon, every thruster as clearly as his own fingers. He could also feel it killing him. The neural load was enormous, like trying to think 1,000 thoughts at once. But he pushed through it, forced his mind to adapt, to accept this new reality. Neural sync at 40%, someone said. Their voice sounded far away. 50%, 60. His brain activity is off the charts, another voice said. If we go higher, we risk permanent damage. Go higher, Jinwoo said, his voice coming from both his throat and the ship's speakers. Push it to 80. That will kill you, Hana said firmly. Then I die, Jinwoo replied. But you'll have data. You'll know it's possible. Someone else can finish what I start. There was silence in the chamber. Then Hana nodded to the technicians. 80%, slowly. The world exploded into sensation. Jinwoo wasn't just connected to the Guishan anymore. He was the Guishan. His consciousness spread through circuits and weapon systems, through engines and sensors. He could feel space around him even though the ship was still in the hangar. He could sense radiation from Earth's dying sun, feel the gravity of the moon, taste the vacuum between stars. And he could hold it. Barely. His nose was bleeding and his vision was blurred, but he could hold it. Neural sync stable at 80%, a technician announced, sounding shocked. His brain is adapting. I've never seen anything like it. Hana rushed to the pod, checking displays that showed Jinwoo's vital signs. How do you feel? Like I could fly through a star, Jinwoo said and laughed. It hurt to laugh. Everything hurt. But he was alive, and he was connected to the most advanced fighter humanity had ever built. We have our pilot, Hana said quietly. While Jinwoo learned to become one with the Guishan, Admiral Sung-ho stood in a briefing room with the people who would lead humanity's desperate gamble. Captain Daewon was there along with Captain Yuna, commander of the carrier Baekdu. Engineer Bora sat at the table, her cybernetic arm glowing faintly in the dim light. She'd lost the original arm in a factory accident during the catastrophe and had built her own replacement. Operation Sunrise, Sung-ho said, bringing up a holographic star map. 12 points glowed red across 3 star systems. These are Halon mining facilities, all operating in what used to be our territory. They're stealing our resources to feed their empire. How many ships are we looking at? Yuna asked. She was younger than Daewon, promoted quickly because so many experienced officers had died in the catastrophe. Each facility has 3 to 5 security ships, Sung-ho replied. Nothing major. Destroyers, maybe a light cruiser. They don't expect resistance. Because Earth is supposed to be dying, Bora said bitterly. They think we're too weak to fight back. We are weak, Daewon said. Compared to the Halon Empire, we're nothing. They have thousands of ships. We have 50. 50 ships they don't know about, Sung-ho corrected. 50 ships with FTL drives that can outrun anything in the galaxy. 50 ships with neural sync weapons that can hit targets our pilots can see with their minds. If the pilots survive the neural load, Bora added. Jinwoo made it work, but he's one person. We need hundreds of neural sync pilots for this operation. We have them, Sung-ho said. 200 volunteers have successfully completed neural sync training. Another 300 are in the program. They know the risks. They've all lost someone to the catastrophe, to the starvation, to the galaxy's indifference. They want to fight back. Daewon studied the star map. Simultaneous strikes across 3 systems. We'll need perfect coordination. The neural network will give us that. Hana's voice came through speakers. She was still in the lab but connected to the briefing. Every ship will be linked through quantum entanglement. Pilots will share tactical awareness in real time. They'll fight like a single organism. When do we launch? Yuna asked. Sung-ho looked at each of them in turn. 72 hours. Tell your crews to say goodbye to their families. Some of them won't come back. In the underground cities, word spread quietly about what was coming. People didn't know the details, but they could see the ships being loaded, could see pilots hugging their children one last time. The mood was strange, a mixture of fear and desperate hope. Mireille walked through the corridors of New Seoul, the largest underground city. She'd resigned as Earth's ambassador because there was no Earth representation anymore. Now she wore a military uniform, working with intelligence to identify targets and gather information. She stopped at a viewing window that looked into one of the construction bays. The ships floated there, sleek and deadly, covered in hull plating that seemed to absorb light. They didn't look like the old human designs. They looked alien, predatory, wrong. "They're beautiful, aren't they?" a voice said beside her. Mireille turned to see Taman, an agent who'd been operating in Halon space for years. He'd returned to Earth 3 months ago with intelligence that had made Operation Sunrise possible. "They're terrifying," Mireille said. "We built those in 6 months. What does that say about us?" "That we adapt," Taman replied. "That we survive. That we refuse to die quietly." "A lot of people are going to die anyway," Mireille said. "Neural sync is killing our pilots. The weapon systems are untested in real combat. We're throwing everything we have at an empire that could crush us with a fraction of its fleet." "Yes," Taman agreed. "But we're doing it on our terms. We're making them see us. For 50 years, the galaxy has watched Earth fade. They've divided up our territory, stolen our resources, and waited for us to disappear. In 72 hours, they'll remember we're still here." Mireille looked at the ships again. Somewhere in one of those vessels, pilots were preparing to merge their minds with machines to become weapons themselves. Somewhere, engineers like Bora were loading quantum-entangled processors that would link every human ship into a single tactical network. Somewhere, Admiral Sung-Ho was making final calculations on an operation that would either save humanity or destroy its last hope. "Do you think we can win?" Mireille asked. Taman was quiet for a long moment. "I think we can make them bleed. I think we can show them that writing off Earth was a mistake. Beyond that?" He shrugged. "We'll find out in 72 hours. In the Neural Sync Training Center, Jinwoo floated in a simulation with 19 other pilots. They were learning to fight as one, their minds linked through the quantum network. He could feel them in his head, feel their fear and determination, their skills and weaknesses. "Execute attack pattern Delta," the training officer ordered. 20 minds acted as one. 20 ships that didn't physically exist, wheeled through simulated space, targeting enemy vessels with impossible precision. They moved like a school of fish, like a flock of birds, like something alive and thinking as a single entity. It was beautiful and horrifying. When the simulation ended, Jinwoo disconnected and immediately vomited. The neural load was still crushing, even after weeks of training. Around him, other pilots were doing the same or worse. One had passed out. Another was crying tears of blood, but they'd completed the exercise perfectly. Every simulated enemy destroyed. No friendly casualties. "We're ready," Jinwoo said, wiping his mouth. The training officer nodded grimly. "Then get some rest. In 3 days we find out if any of this actually works." Admiral Sung-Ho stood alone in his office looking at pictures of Earth from before the catastrophe. Blue oceans. Green forests. White clouds. "A living world. We'll never see that again," he said to the empty room. "But maybe our children will see something else. Maybe they'll see stars that belong to us, space that respects us, a galaxy that fears us." He turned from the pictures and brought up the operation timeline. 72 hours until Operation Sunrise on. The Halon mining facility orbited a dead moon in what used to be Earth's outer territories. Its commander, a being named Vex, sat in the control center watching cargo ships load stolen metals. Life was good. Earth was silent, defeated, gone. The resources were free for the taking. The first indication something was wrong came from sensors that suddenly screamed warnings. "Commander, we have incoming ships," the sensor operator said, mandibles clicking nervously. 15 contacts moving at impossible speeds." "Impossible speeds?" Vex rose from his chair. "Explain." "They're using FTL in system, sir. Nobody does that. The energy required would—" The mining facility shook as the first human weapon struck. Railgun rounds traveling at relativistic speeds tore through defensive platforms like they were paper. Vex watched in horror as his security ships exploded before they could even charge weapons. "Where did they come from?" Vex demanded. "Unknown origin, sir. They just appeared on sensors and opened fire." "Wait, I'm getting an ID signature. They're human ships." "Impossible," Vex said. "Earth doesn't have ships like this. Earth doesn't have ships at all." But the evidence was right there on his screens. 15 sleek vessels moving in perfect coordination, their weapons ripping his facility apart. Then they were gone, jumping back into FTL before his reinforcements could arrive. The same scene played out across 12 facilities in 3 star systems. Human ships appeared, destroyed everything in sight, and vanished. The galaxy's communication networks lit up with confused and panicked reports. Earth was supposed to be dead. Earth was supposed to be finished. Earth had just announced it was very much alive. Captain Daewon stood on the bridge of the Taeguk as his ship dropped out of FTL near the fourth target. Around him, 4 other human vessels materialized from quantum space, their neural-linked pilots moving in absolute synchronization. All targets locked, Yun reported. 15 enemy ships, mostly cargo haulers. 3 destroyers running security. The destroyers first, Daewon ordered. We don't hurt civilians if we can avoid it. The neural sync fighters moved like they were dancing. Jinwoo led the formation, his mind spread across the Guishan and linked to 19 other pilots. They could feel each other's thoughts, anticipate each other's moves. When one pilot saw a target, all 20 knew instantly. The Halon destroyers never had a chance. They were designed to fight enemies that thought in terms of individual ships and single-pilot reactions. They weren't ready for an enemy that thought as one mind controlling 20 bodies. Jinwoo felt his weapons lock on to the lead destroyer. He didn't pull a trigger. He simply thought about the ship dying, and the Guishan's neural-linked railguns fired. The other pilots did the same, their thoughts becoming actions faster than any computer could process. The destroyer exploded. Its shields were still coming online when human weapons tore through its hull. Second destroyer breaking left, one of the pilots said through the neural link. They all felt it at the same time and adjusted their formation without orders. The destroyer ran straight into a kill zone created by minds that saw the battlefield as one shared space. Third destroyer is retreating, another pilot reported. Let it go, Jinwoo said. Let it tell them what happened here. Daewon watched the battle from the Taeguk's bridge. It lasted 90 seconds from start to finish. 3 destroyers destroyed, the mining facility crippled, and 0 human casualties. Signal the fleet, Daewon ordered. All objectives secured. Return to Rally Point Alpha. As his ships prepared to jump back to Earth, Daewon broadcast a message on all Halon frequencies. This territory belongs to Earth. You were warned. You were given a chance to leave. Consider this your final notice. Then the human fleet vanished, leaving behind wreckage and confusion. On the Halon homeworld, Counselor Vex received reports from all 12 facilities. The damage was catastrophic, not just to equipment and ships, but to the Empire's pride. Humans had done this. Humans who were supposed to be extinct. Impossible, Vex repeated, reading the reports again and again. They don't have this technology. They don't have these ships. Our intelligence said Earth was finished. Our intelligence was wrong, an aide said carefully. Vex crushed the data pad in his claws. Assemble the 5th Fleet, 200 ships. I want Earth glassed. I want every human facility destroyed. I want this infection burned out before it spreads. 200 ships against Earth's defenses might be excessive, the aide suggested. Did you read these reports? Vex shrieked. They have ships that can jump into FTL inside star systems. They have weapons that react faster than our sensors can track. They fight like they share one mind. 200 ships is not excessive. 200 ships is us being careful. The aide bowed. I will give the orders, Counselor. As the aide left, Vex looked at images from the attacks. The human ships were small, nothing like the massive dreadnoughts the Halon Empire favored. But they moved with precision that shouldn't be possible. Every shot perfectly placed, every maneuver calculated for maximum effect. What did you do, Earth? Vex whispered. What did you become? Back on Earth in the underground command center, Admiral Sung Ho watched reports flood in from Operation Sunrise. 12 targets hit, 12 victories. 50 ships deployed, 50 ships returned. 0 casualties, it was too perfect. Something was wrong. Where's Hana? He asked. Medical wing, an officer reported. The pilots are experiencing severe neural feedback. She's trying to stabilize them. Sung Ho found Hana in a room full of neural sync pilots who were lying in medical beds. Some were unconscious. Others were staring at nothing, their eyes unfocused. Jinwoo sat on one bed, his hands shaking as a doctor checked his neural ports. Tell me the truth, Sung Ho said to Hana. How bad is it? Hana pulled him aside, away from the pilots. It's worse than we thought. The neural load during combat is 10 times higher than in simulations. Pilots are experiencing brain hemorrhages, seizures, and permanent neural damage. Jinwoo is the only one who came through relatively intact, and even he has bleeding on his brain. Can they fight again? Maybe once or twice more. After that? Hana shook her head. After that, they'll be dead or brain dead. The human mind wasn't designed to process information at this level. Sung-ho looked at the pilots, these young people who had volunteered to become weapons. How long do we have before the Halon response? Taemin's intelligence suggests 48 to 72 hours. They'll send everything they have. Then we train new pilots. We build more ships, Admiral. We don't have time to... We make time, Sung-ho said firmly. We just proved we can fight them and win. We can't stop now. In his private quarters, Jinwoo lay in bed staring at the ceiling. His head felt like it was splitting apart, and he could still feel the ghost of the neural connection, still sense the other pilots in his mind even though they were disconnected. The door opened. Mirai entered carrying a bottle of something that looked like alcohol. Thought you might need this, she said, sitting beside his bed. I'm on medical restriction, Jinwoo said. I won't tell if you won't. Mirai poured 2 glasses and handed him one. You did something impossible today. You know that, right? Jinwoo drank. It burned going down, but it was a different pain than the one in his head. We did what we had to do. The reports are spreading across the galaxy, Mirai said. Everyone is talking about it. Earth, the dead world, just destroyed 12 Halon facilities in one day. People are scared. People are confused. But mostly people are remembering we exist. Is that enough? Jinwoo asked. Being remembered? It's a start. Mirai drank her own glass. But Vex won't let this stand. He'll send everything he has to destroy us. Let him come, Jinwoo said. We'll burn his ships like we burned his facilities. At what cost? Hana says the neural sync is killing you, all of you. Jinwoo looked at her, his eyes clear despite the pain. We were dead anyway. Earth was dying. Humanity was finished. At least this way we go down fighting. At least this way the galaxy will remember we refused to fade quietly. Mirai wanted to argue, wanted to tell him there had to be another way. But she'd seen the reports too. She knew what was coming. The Halon Empire would send a fleet so large that Earth's 50 ships wouldn't matter. Neural sync or not, humanity couldn't win against those numbers. Then we make sure the galaxy never forgets, Mirai said quietly. Captain Yuna stood in the hangar bay of the carrier Baekdu, watching technicians prepare her ship for what came next. She'd fought in the battle at the mining facility, felt the neural connection with other pilots, experienced the strange sensation of being one mind in many bodies. It was addictive. It was horrifying. It was the future of human warfare. Captain, her first officer approached. We're detecting increased Halon fleet movements. They're gathering ships from across 3 sectors. How many? Current count is 150. Still increasing. Yuna nodded slowly. Operation Sunrise had been a success, but it had also kicked the hornet's nest. Now the hornets were coming and they were angry. Send a message to Admiral Sung-ho. Tell him we need to talk about the Crimson Nebula. The Crimson Nebula, ma'am. That's deep in neutral space. Exactly, Yuna said. If we're going to make a stand, we need an advantage. The nebula's radiation will play hell with their sensors, but neural sync pilots, we feel targets. We don't need sensors. The Crimson Nebula hung in space like a wound. Red gases glowing with radiation that would kill unshielded humans in minutes. It was beautiful and deadly, stretching across millions of kilometers. Most ships avoided it. The radiation played havoc with sensors and communications. Fighting there would be like fighting blind, unless you didn't need sensors to see. Admiral Sung-ho stood in the command center on Earth, looking at tactical displays showing the Halon fleet's approach. 200 ships exactly as intelligence had predicted. They were coming straight for Earth and they'd pass through the Crimson Nebula to get there. It's a trap, Captain Daewon said over the communication link. His face showed on the screen broadcasting from the Tiguk. We position our fleet inside the nebula and wait for them. They'll know it's a trap, Mirai argued. She stood beside Sung-ho, now serving as tactical advisor. Vex isn't stupid. He's arrogant, Taemin countered. The intelligence agent had returned from Halon space with detailed fleet compositions. He thinks 200 ships can't lose to 50 no matter what tricks we use. He'll walk into the trap because he doesn't believe it matters. Sung-ho studied the displays. How are the pilots? Stable enough to fight. Hana's voice came through the speakers. She was in the medical wing again, trying to keep the neural sync pilots alive. But this will be their last battle. The neural load in the nebula will be extreme. The radiation will interfere with the quantum network, making each pilot work harder to maintain the connection. How much harder? 80% chance of fatal brain hemorrhage for any pilot who stays connected for more than 30 minutes. The command center fell silent. 30 minutes. That was all the time they had to win or die. What if we use drones? Someone suggested. Connect them to pilots on Earth. Use the neural network remotely. Already thought of that, Hannah said. The nebula's radiation will create lag in the quantum connection. Maybe half a second delay. Half a second is an eternity in combat, Daewon said. It's also an advantage. Bora's voice joined the conversation. The engineer was on the carrier Baekdu, managing the weapon systems. Halen tactics rely on predictive algorithms. They calculate where a ship will be and fire there. But if our ships have a half-second delay in response time, we'll be unpredictable. Their algorithms won't work. Sung-ho considered this, so we use both. Neural sync fighters for precision strikes, drone swarms for chaos. The Halons won't know which targets to prioritize. It could work, Captain Yuna said. Her face appeared on another screen. But we need perfect coordination. One mistake and we'll be caught in our own crossfire. The neural network will handle coordination, Jinwoo said. He looked terrible on screen, his eyes bloodshot and his skin pale. But his voice was steady. Every pilot, every drone operator, all connected as one. We'll see the battlefield as a single tactical space. Then we have our plan, Sung-ho said. All ships to the Crimson Nebula. We make our stand there. Sir, Mirai said quietly, if we lose this battle, Earth is defenseless. They'll come here next. If we lose this battle, Earth won't matter anymore, Sung-ho replied. Because we'll have proven we can't win. The galaxy will finish what it started, and humanity will be erased, so we don't lose. The human fleet gathered at the edge of the Crimson Nebula, 50 ships looking tiny against the vast red clouds. Inside those ships, pilots prepared for neural sync, knowing most of them would die in the next hour. Jinwoo sat in the Guishan's cockpit, feeling the neural ports at the base of his skull. His last medical scan had shown bleeding in 3 parts of his brain. The doctor said one more sync might kill him. He'd thanked them for the information and climbed into his fighter anyway. All pilots, this is Admiral Sung-ho. The voice came through speakers and directly into their minds through the neural network. What you're about to do is impossible. You're about to face an enemy with 4 times your numbers, better ships, and more experience. But you have something they don't. You have each other. You fight as one mind. You move as one body. You are not 50 ships. You are one fleet with 50 parts. Make them remember that. The neural connection activated. Jinwoo felt himself expand, felt 19 other fighter pilots merge with his consciousness. They were scared. They were in pain, but they were ready. Neural sync established, Hana reported. Network stability at 90%. That will drop once you enter the nebula. Then let's make this quick, Jinwoo said. His voice came from his throat and from 19 other ships simultaneously. The human fleet entered the Crimson Nebula, and the galaxy held its breath. Counselor Vex stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the nebula grow larger on the screens. His fleet was magnificent. 200 ships of the Halon Empire, enough firepower to crack a planet. 50 human ships couldn't stand against them. They're in the nebula, his sensor officer reported, detecting energy signatures consistent with human FTL drives. They're hiding like the insects they are, Vex said with satisfaction. All ships enter the nebula. Battle formation. Flush them out and destroy them. Sir, our sensors will be compromised in there. We don't need sensors to kill 50 ships. We have 200. Even if we fire blind, we'll hit something. The Halon fleet entered the red clouds and immediately everything went wrong. Their sensors did more than malfunction. They showed ghost images, false readings, targets that weren't there. Communication between ships became difficult, filled with static and delays. The perfect battle formation broke apart as ships lost track of each other in the red murk. And then the humans attacked. They came from every direction at once, appearing out of the red clouds like ghosts. Human fighters moved through radiation that should have killed them, their neural-linked pilots feeling targets instead of seeing them. They fired weapons that seemed to know exactly where Halon ships would be, threading shots through the confusion with impossible accuracy. Return fire, Vex screamed. All ships return fire. His fleet tried. They fired into the red clouds, expending thousands of shots. But the humans moved like they could see the future, dodging fire that should have destroyed them. The neural network let them share tactical awareness across the entire fleet. When one pilot sensed danger, All 20 fighters knew instantly and adjusted. Bora's drone swarms added to the chaos. Launched from the carrier Bekdu, thousands of small drones filled the nebula, each one controlled by neural-linked operators back on Earth. The half-second delay made them unpredictable, their movements jerky and random. Halon targeting computers couldn't track them. "We're taking fire from all sides," a Halon captain reported. "Shields are down to 60%. How many enemy ships?" Vex demanded. "Unknown, sir. Sensors show 50 contacts, then 500, then none. We can't get accurate readings." Vex watched his fleet fall apart. Ships collided with each other in the confusion. Others fired on their own vessels, unable to tell friend from foe in the red murk. And through it all, the humans darted like predators, striking and vanishing. "This is impossible," Vex whispered. Captain Daewon guided the Taeguk through the nebula, trusting the neural network more than his own eyes. He could feel Yuna's carrier on his left, sense Jinwoo's fighter squadron above him, know the position of every human ship and drone without looking at sensors. "Enemy dreadnought at heading 270, Hyun reported. "It's the flagship." "All fighters converge on the flagship," Daewon ordered. Through the neural link, he felt 20 fighter pilots acknowledge simultaneously. Jinwoo led the attack run. His brain was on fire, the neural load pushing him past human limits. He could taste blood in his mouth, feel something warm running from his nose. It didn't matter. He could see the Halon flagship through the red clouds, sense its position through the quantum network, feel its engines and weapons and shields as clearly as if they were part of his own body. "Target the hangar bay," he said to the other pilots. "We go in together. One strike, all or nothing." 20 fighters accelerated as one, their minds linked so perfectly they moved like parts of a single organism. Halon defense systems tried to track them, but the targeting computers couldn't handle enemies that anticipated their own algorithms. The fighters dove into the flagship's hangar, a suicidal run that should have been impossible. Halon shields caught 3 fighters, destroying them instantly. The other 17 kept going, their pilots pushing neural sync beyond safe limits, their brains literally burning from the effort. "Fire," Jinwoo thought, and 17 ships obeyed. The Guishan's weapons, designed to channel neural energy into focused EMP blasts, fired directly into the flagship's core systems. The neural energy overloaded Halon circuits, fried quantum processors, turned the mighty dreadnought's electronics into slag. The flagship went dark, floating dead in space. But the cost was devastating. Of the 17 fighters that made the run, only Jinwoo's Guishan emerged. The others had pushed neural sync to 100% and paid the price. Their pilots were dead, their brains literally cooked by the neural load. "Jinwoo, status," Daewon called through the link. Jinwoo tried to respond, but blood poured from his nose and ears. His vision was going dark. The neural feedback had scarred him permanently. He could barely think, barely breathe. But the flagship was dead. The Halon fleet was in chaos, and Earth would survive. 6 months after the Battle of Crimson Nebula, Earth had become something the galaxy never expected, not a dying world begging for help, but a power that made empires nervous. Chancellor Soman stood in the rebuilt council chamber on Earth, the first time humanity had hosted a galactic gathering in 50 years. Representatives from 30 species filled the room, all wanting to talk, to negotiate, to ally with the world they had written off as dead. "The Kelson Protectorate offers a mutual defense pact," Elder Wen said, his reptilian features arranged in what humans had learned was a smile. "Our fleets combined would make a formidable force." "The Aral Collective proposes a technology exchange," another ambassador added. "Your neural sync systems for our quantum shielding." "The Halon Empire wishes to discuss reparations for the unauthorized mining operations," a nervous diplomat said, carefully not mentioning that those same operations had led to war. Soman listened to them all. These species that had once ignored Earth's pleas for help, now they came bearing gifts and treaties, afraid of being left behind as humanity carved out a new place in the galaxy. "Earth will consider all proposals," Soman said diplomatically, "but our priority remains our own survival and recovery. We welcome friendship, but we will not be rushed into alliances." As the ambassadors filed out, Mirai approached Somin. The former diplomat now served as Earth's foreign minister, managing relationships with species that suddenly remembered humanity existed. "They're scared," Mirai said quietly. Scared of what we did? Scared of what we might do next? Good, Soman replied. Let them be scared. Better than being pitied. But the victory had come at a terrible cost. In the medical facilities beneath Earth's surface, Dr. Hana walked through halls filled with the dying. Jinwoo lay in a bed, his body thin and weak. The neural sync damage had been catastrophic. Half his brain showed permanent scarring. He could barely speak, could barely move. But he was alive, which was more than most neural sync pilots could say. How long? Jinwoo asked, his voice barely a whisper. Hana didn't pretend not to understand. Weeks, maybe a month if we're lucky. The others? Same. Everyone who pushed neural sync above 80% is dying. We're trying to make them comfortable. Jinwoo closed his eyes. Around him in other beds, the first generation of neural sync pilots slowly faded. They had burned themselves out to save Earth. Now they paid the price. Was it worth it? Hana asked quietly. Ask me when I'm dead, Jinwoo replied. Then you'll know. In the research laboratories, Hana and her team worked desperately on the next generation of neural sync technology. They had to find a safer version, had to solve the problem before Earth's military advantage disappeared with its dying pilots. We've isolated the issue, Bora said, her cybernetic arm moving rapidly across holographic displays. The human brain wasn't designed to process information at quantum speeds. But if we use an intermediary AI to handle the quantum processing and just feed tactical data to human pilots, it won't be as effective, Hana said. The current system works because human intuition combines with quantum processing. Add an AI filter and you lose that. But pilots won't die, Bora countered. Isn't that worth some reduced effectiveness? Hana looked at the data, knowing that reduced effectiveness might mean losing the next battle. But she also thought about Jinwoo and the others, dying because their brains had been pushed too far. Keep working on it, Hana said. We need a solution before the next crisis, because there would be a next crisis. The galaxy had seen what Earth could do, but it had also seen Earth's weakness. The neural sync technology was killing its users. If Earth couldn't solve that problem, eventually it would run out of pilots. Admiral Sung-ho stood in the war room studying intelligence reports from across the galaxy. The Halon Empire had withdrawn behind their borders, licking their wounds. But Counselor Vex was still alive, still in power, and intelligence suggested he was building something new. Fleet movements indicate a major construction project in the Halon core systems. Taemin reported. He'd returned to his role as Earth's top intelligence agent. We don't know what they're building, but it's big. Dreadnought-sized or larger? How long until it's operational? 6 months. Maybe less, Sung-ho nodded grimly. 6 months. Earth needed more time to recover, to train new pilots, to build more ships, but the galaxy wasn't going to wait. What about the Galactic Council? Sung-ho asked. Fractured, Mireille said, joining the meeting. Half want to make peace with Earth. The other half sees us as a threat that needs to be contained. They're arguing about it instead of making decisions. Which gives us time, Sung-ho said. Time we desperately need. In orbit around Earth, the new ships were taking shape. The carrier Baekdu had been joined by 3 more carriers. Captain Yuna oversaw their construction, making sure every system met the brutal standards Earth's survival required. The neural sync chambers are installed, Bora reported, walking beside Yuna through the carrier's corridors. But we're having trouble finding pilots. Everyone knows it's a death sentence now. We have volunteers, Yuna said. They know the risks. Do they? Really? Bora stopped walking. Or are they just desperate to feel like they matter, like their deaths will mean something? Yuna had no answer for that. She'd survived Crimson Nebula, but she'd also watched 19 pilots die in that battle. She'd felt their deaths through the neural network, experienced their final moments as they burned themselves out for Earth's survival. We need a better solution, Yuna said finally. Hana's working on it. Hana's been working on it for 6 months. Maybe there is no better solution. Maybe this is the price of our survival. A new generation was growing up in Earth's underground cities. Lieutenant Isel was one of them. Too young to have fought at Crimson Nebula, but old enough to understand what it meant. She stood in the pilot training center watching new recruits practice with the safer but less effective neural sync systems Hana's team had developed. They were good. They were dedicated. But they weren't warriors like Jinwoo in the first generation. They hadn't been forged in desperation, hadn't learned to fly while Earth was dying around them. They'll have to be enough, Captain Daewon said, standing beside her. He'd survived Crimson Nebula too, though he looked 10 years older than he had before the battle. Will they? Isol asked. When Vex comes back with whatever he's building, will these pilots be enough? They'll have to be, Daiwan repeated. Because they're all we have. The crisis came sooner than expected. Intelligence reports showed Vex's new construction was complete. Not one dreadnought, but 10. Each one massive, each one built with one purpose, to destroy Earth once and for all. 500 ships, Taman reported in the Emergency Council meeting. The 10 new dreadnoughts plus 490 support vessels. They're calling it the Purification Fleet. They're coming to finish what they started, Mirai said. How many ships can we field? Soman asked. 100 operational vessels, Admiral Sung Ho replied. Plus drone swarms. But our pilots, he trailed off. Everyone knew the problem. The safe neural sync systems weren't powerful enough. The dangerous systems killed their users. We need the old system, Daewon said. The original neural sync. Full connection. It's the only way to win against those numbers. That will kill every pilot who uses it, Hana said. We're talking about 100 ships, maybe 2,000 pilots. You're asking them all to die. I'm asking them to save Earth, Daewon corrected. Just like Jinwoo did. Just like the first generation did. The room fell silent. They all knew he was right. They also all knew it was monstrous. I'll fly, Isol said suddenly. All eyes turned to her. I'll use the full neural sync. If that's what Earth needs, I'll do it. You're 22 years old, Hana said. Jinwoo was 24, Isol replied. Age doesn't matter. Only results. Admiral Sung Ho looked at each person in the room. We need volunteers. People who understand they won't survive but choose to fight anyway. We can't order anyone to do this. You won't have to order them, Isol said. Earth has plenty of volunteers. We all grew up in the underground cities. We all remember what it was like when the galaxy abandoned us. We know what's at stake. In the medical wing, Hana visited Jinwoo one last time. He was conscious but barely. His body was failing. His brain damaged beyond repair. They're going to do it again, Hana said, tears running down her face. They're going to use the full neural sync. 2,000 pilots are going to burn themselves out just like you did. Jinwoo's lips moved, forming words that barely had sound. Worth it. How can you say that? You're dying. They're all going to die. Better to burn bright, then fade. In darkness, Jinwoo whispered. Tell them. Make it count. He closed his eyes and slipped back into unconsciousness. Hana sat beside him, holding his hand, knowing these were probably his last days. The volunteers gathered. 2,000 men and women, mostly young, all knowing they were about to die. They climbed into neural sync chambers, felt the ports slide into their skulls, prepared to become weapons one last time. This is Earth Defense Fleet to all human vessels. Admiral Sung Ho's voice came through every speaker. You know what you're about to do. You know the cost. History will remember you. Earth will remember you. Humanity will remember you. You are the stars that light our darkness. You are the fire that keeps us alive.